Hello, welcome to Win Some Lose More. My name is Dieter, and I'm joined again by my brother Rick for the next installment of the Too Loose Top 50. This is number 40 to 31. We got a lot of the preamble out of the way in the last one, so hopefully you've seen that. If not, go back, watch it. We're just going to launch straight into number 40. Rick, what have you got?
I've got a new entry, and this is the last in a series of games that we've not spoken about yet. And the game is called Viscounts of the West Kingdom trilogy. In this, you are it's kind of a deck builder, a slow deck builder. So you have a tableau of people that come out, and then they give you certain powers and certain movement abilities, and you are on this sort of circular or octagonal board or something as a little horsey man going round and round and round and doing different actions and collecting different things or scoring different monies. And in the middle there's a none of these different points, you know what I mean? And in the middle there's a castle where you can put your pawns, and then they can try and climb to the top. And there's a cascading thing with like Pandemic, you know, you kind of three in the same place and poof, it explodes. You can collect other stuff and write scribes and write manuscripts, and you can also build buildings, and you can so many things you can do. Yeah, so it's a point scorer, it's a point salad, it's a deck builder. It's got this nice mechanic of the tableau that you're building up, and there's some interesting sort of do you do good stuff, do you do bad stuff, which runs all the way through the West Kingdom series. Quite enjoyed it. So number 40.
My number 40 is also new to my list. So a semi crossover.
In the scope of all games ever.
Yep. This is The King is Dead.
Oh, yes.
What a game.
Yeah.
What a game. This is
second edition.
Second edition, I do apologize.
Yeah.
Pierce Sylvester, what madness brought you to this design? It's just bizarre. It shouldn't work. We read the rules, and I think we both went, okay. And then we both went to make a first move and went, oh. So we both have the same 5 cards? I forget. 8 cards. If you're playing the basic version, you've got the same 8 cards. They're your only 8 moves throughout the thing. And it's an area majority game, except you don't control any of the factions. No. You're trying to manipulate the board so it leans towards particular factions taking over certain areas at various points, because they'll score at different times in a set order that you know, and you're trying to predict and cascade where they go. And every choice is fraught with peril. Yes. And yet I know you like the aesthetic. I get it. It's not my kind of thing.
I like appropriate. The aesthetic more than the first edition.
Oh, sure. Nobody's arguing that.
That's part of it. I quite like the aesthetic, but I certainly like it more than originally.
Sure. It just blew my mind how much I enjoyed this game. What did we play it? 5 times in a row the first time?
Like that. Yeah,
at least like 3 with the base cards, and then there's got variable cards just to mix it up. So you've got 2 things that the other person might not. And so then you're trying to, I know they've got these, but I don't know what their other ones are. And when are we going to play? It's just, and everything feels like the other person's got more powerful things than you, but it's perfectly well balanced and just madness, and so inexpensive. And Osprey just seemed to do good productions for no reason.
Yeah.
King is Dead, 40. Brilliant.
Great game. Okay, my number 39 has fallen again about 10 places, but it was going to fall anyway because of a game that you mentioned last time. This is Camel Up, and is no longer my favorite racing game. So sorry about that, Camel Up. It's still a great game, still lots of fun. Was a Spiel des Jahres winner at one point. I think it's 8-player in the base game, and I've got the expansion that takes it to 10 players. You are fans of camel racing. There's nothing to do with the game. This is just who you are. You're a fan of camel racing, are you not?
Who isn't?
Well, do you know what I love about camel racing? Is particularly when the camels jump on top of the other camels, and then the bottom camel seems to carry them along. No, that's just a game called Camel Up. You see. It's a betting game, and it's a racing game, and you don't seem to have a lot of agency in it, and you play it and you go, well, this is all random, and then you play it again and you go, well, I can do better than that. And it's just lots of fun. It's a really, really fun game,
So much fun.
and more fun than you think it should be. And I've played this, I don't know, dozens of times, and people just get so animated at the roll of a dice that is utter chance. But they love it. Camel Up. If you haven't played it, check it out. Number 39.
So good. So silly. So silly. Mine number 39, actually, when we were discussing the lists before, when we were making them, I said this was on the cusp. And it's just actually come out. It's gone up 9 places. This is Dice Masters.
Okay, wow.
My second Marvel game. It's not strictly Marvel. There's lots of different worlds that you can get, but for me, I predominantly buy the Marvel sets. It just manages to be bizarrely thematic. It's just rolling dice, but it's a bag builder as opposed to a deck builder like Legendary was last time. And you've got different heroes that this time I had different ones to you. It's a one-on-one battle, which, you know, is a thing I grew up with Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and things. And just, well, even though they're tiny dice, they're etched like unique dice. They're custom dice. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for. There's so many different characters and sets that you can get. I've got a whole Spider-Man box with all those kinds of characters. I bought loads of Age of Ultron things, just lots of different. Again, if there's a character, they've probably made a set for it. And just pitting these people against each other and having Doc Ock on the same team as Iron Man. It's just these bizarre combinations and seeing how they work together, and just fun. It's randomness used strategically, which is a design choice that I like. So you roll the dice, it could come up with a bad face, but there are ways to mitigate that, or that's just what you deal with, and you wait then for a better thing to come later and manipulate this. Just good fun. Dice Masters, I don't know what to say. It's fun.
No, and very, very much not my sort of game, not my sort of theme. Don't like duels particularly, all that kind of thing. 78 for me. Very respectable for a type of game I'm not really into. Yeah, it's good. Okay, another new one for me. 38, Fantasy Realms. You mentioned this last. Yeah, I know. You said this last year. You were like, you're going to hate this because it's called Fantasy Realms. You hate fantasy. That's true. I looked at the art and went, oh my goodness, where's the bucket? I need to be sick. It's awful. What were you thinking? Is it WizKids?
Yes.
And what were you thinking, WizKids? Nightmare, horrible. Retheme it, please, or redo the art or anything. Get the Miko in. I don't care. Just, that's horrible.
Imagine.
And then we played a game called Red Rising, which is not on my list. Not on yours. Okay, well, that's interesting. That uses a lot of the same mechanics. And there's a lot of other foof going on in Red Rising and an IP. And I didn't care for either of those particularly. And I didn't love the base mechanic, the Fantasy Realm stuff. But then I was away from it and I thought about it. And, do you know, I quite like that. It was kind of interesting. Maybe. And then the next time I saw you, I was like, maybe bring Fantasy Realms on. And it won. Well, I got nominated for the Kenner Spiel, so I guess it's okay. Yeah, no, it works. It's great. It's just. And do you know what I really like about it? It really benefits from repeated plays because I haven't explained what it does. It's just a deck of cards. But and at the end of the game, you have 8 cards. Is that right?
7.
And depending on if you're playing multiplayer or 2-player, you either start or don't with any cards. But you end up the game with 7 cards, and you will score those cards. And have I got that wrong?
No, I'm now doubting myself that it's 7. Don't worry.
Oh, fine. It's a number of cards, and you get them all. And this one says this will score you 50 points, unless it's with that card. And you go, oh, flip, I've got that card. But that card says you get 50 points if it's with this card. And you go, but which I want both of them, but that doesn't work. They do. And so you're trying to find the great combo of how they all work together. And you've got, what, 50 cards total or something in that deck? It can't be much bigger than a normal 52 card pack.
Yeah.
And they're all individual and they all score differently. And you play the first game and you're like, I don't really know what I'm doing here, but it's very easy to play. I pick up a card and I play a card. This is love letter simple. Come on. Mm-hmm. And then you play it again and you play it again and you play it again and you go, oh, I can do better than that because I really shouldn't have taken that card. And I know that one's in the deck and there's card counting, but that's allowed. You know, it's all there. It just, yeah. don't know if I'll ever buy it in its current visage because it's so hideous. Thought about the Star Trek one that's coming up, but I don't love Star Trek either. So I really want someone to do a good, pretty version of this, and it will go right into my collection. 38 Fantasy Realms.
Amazing. No, both of them are just outside. They're both within the 50 to 70 mark for me.
Okay.
I think Fantasy Realms did end up just above Red Rising as well.
Okay.
Just for the simple purity. Or another semi-crossover that doesn't count as a semi-crossover. My 38 is a new to the list as well. This is Memoir 44. This is charming. And in all honesty, part of why it's high as it is because our dad loves it. And I was so chuffed that he did. And he likes reading the history. He knows a lot about it. It's the kind of books he reads. It's just a theme I was hoping he'd like. You and I had talked about it for a while. Do we get it for him kind of thing? I eventually did. And we sat and played. And for him, it's a good level of rules learning. It's a simple game. It's nice and easy. Days of Wonder again, same as Ticket to Ride and Quadropolis. So it's that same inviting production, but it's a war game. And that's a barrier for some people. Mentally was for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's a simple card action selection game. And it's just constructed incredibly well. And he had a great time. And we've now, over the last year and a half or so, have an ongoing war. Like we'll just, every time I'm there, we'll just pick up the next scenario. And we know, I think he's up 4-2. And of course, he's the Allies because he wants to be the hero. And it just works and it's lovely and inviting. And I'd love to do the Overlord thing where you get 2 sets and do Omaha Beach in this massive ridiculousness.
Wow.
Is it Omaha Beach? Wherever it is. You have like 2 versus 2 people and you're controlling this whole sprawling thing. That just sounds like a lot of fun. It wouldn't have done, but having played it, I think you'll enjoy it. But the fact that our dad loves it so much, it's his number 1 game. He's told me so. He rates it a 10. He's told me so. It just makes me love it more. Memoir 44, it's just lovely.
In some ways, I like to think of us as having an ongoing war. I'd love to hear what the rest of his 10 is, but there you go. Anyway, right. My 37 is another new entry, the last one for this list. And this is Parks. A game I like much more than I thought I was going to. Again, as COVID has eased, I've sort of modded my collection a little to appeal to people who don't play games as much, because a lot of the time that's my crowd. That's how I end up playing games with people. And I mean, no one's going to argue that Parks is absolutely astoundingly gorgeous.
Sure.
I mean, it's based on an art series. The US government commissioned the 52 Parks artwork, which is artwork postcards of the 52 national parks of the US. And then Keymaster Games got hold of the rights to that and said, let's try and build a game around that. Now, that always spells disaster, because you're like, no, you need an actual good idea before you try and just bring in a theme and try and make a game work. I've seen enough bad examples of that. But it's solid and it works pretty well. And if I'd played it a couple of times, I was like, yeah, it's quite good. And it probably would have snuck into the top 100. And I was quite happy to have it in the collection because people were like, oh, that's pretty, let's play that. Okay, great. And then I got the expansion just because it was on offer or something. And it just moves it up into that 50. And I teach it with that to newbies as well. Now, the only person who I thought was slightly overwhelmed by was our brother. Our parents had no problem about that, but our brother was like, oh, now those tents, they're confusing. I asked my mum, having taught her the expansion, I was like, oh, that's extra stuff. I know that I put in there. She was like, oh, no, I like that. It gives me more options to get what I want. I'm like, yes, it does. The way the game works, you're on a hiking trail, and basically it's a worker placement. No one else can go where you are on the trail, but you also can't go back on the trail. So you say, oh, I want this spot because it gets me to water, and I go here because I get to exchange those water for something. As you go down the trail, then eventually you trade in those. It's a set collection for a park. I don't know how the theme works. I have 3 water and 2 sunshine and 1 wild fox. Can I own Yosemite National Park, please? Yes, of course, it's yours. What? Doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so it's a set collection game at its heart. But yeah, with the expansion, just moved it up into that sort of decent, crunchy choice area where I say, I'm happy to introduce this to you, and you're happy to play it because it's gorgeous and really well produced. And I'm happy to play it because with the expansion, it's just got enough going on that I get to the end of it and going, oh, I really could have done better. So yeah, parks, but you have to have the expansion.
Cool. My number 37 is the first of 2 games in this 10 that were brand new to the list, like a week before we did the list last time. And so we're super high.
Sure.
And because I get excited about stuff and have kind of settled. This is Imperial Settlers Empires of the North.
Ooh.
Which is down 20 places.
Okay, yep.
But again, that's just super excited.
Yeah.
Settled, played it a bit more, did get one of the expansions. Love the concept. Very much what you would term my kind of rubbish. I know you tried it.
73 for me.
Okay, still top 100. Okay. For me, tableau building and card powers is just my jam. Like triggering cards, exhausting them to do all these things. But then the little action selection wheel, I just find fascinating.
Yeah, that is
that it's shuffled, that it's which of the 5 will be next to each other in a certain way, and that matters because you can spend resources to use the adjacent power, so it's different every time. It just it just gets me. It's just interesting, but I just don't pull it out.
Yeah.
And if I want to play a solo game, it's interesting. There's different scenarios, it works, but there's just other stuff that I might want to play. So it's actually teetering within my collection at all. But when I do play it, I go, oh, this is satisfying. This was fun. This was cool.
Yeah.
The asymmetry of the decks almost actually goes against it for me, because do I want to learn a new deck each time?
Agree.
Yes, I do if I'm going to play it regularly. If I just want to pull it out and play with somebody, I kind of don't have to teach that.
Just put a pause on that and we'll talk about that again in just a minute, all right?
Okay, so Imperial Settlers, Empires of the North, number 37.
Okay, 36 for me, 11 placer climb. Codenames. Bit of a surprise to find it this high. I know. Again, I play more party games than you. It's just how it is.
True.
Codenames, if you've never played it, I can't believe you're watching this channel, if I'm honest. But you've got 5x5 grid of words. You have to tell your teammates which words they're going to be finding. You've got a little key, and you're allowed to give them a 1 word and 1 number clue answer. So if there's, I don't know, boat, shop, and I don't know, sheet, you might say sail 3, because sail links to those 3 things. But then they might see that there was I don't know, something else that they thought was to do with sail, like mast or something like that. And that might have been one of the opposition, or even the bad guy who you're not supposed to hit. It's a party game. It's probably the most popular party game of the last 20 years.
Yep.
And it works. It's great. And I play a lot of party games. I played over Zoom when it was a pandemic a bit more. I looked at it at 36 and went, I probably should drop that. It's probably more, I don't like it that much. And I looked around and went, I'd play it. I do play it. It's a good game. It works. I introduce it to all sorts of people. Why not? 36 Codenames.
36 for me is one I would also introduce to a lot of people. This is another one where I've bundled together lots of things into the Sushi Go category. I actually only own Sushi Roll, which in my opinion is the least of the 3.
Yeah.
But Sushi Go Party, the card versions for large groups, even medium, so like 4 or 5 people up, it's just great fun. It's just it's very simple, pick and pass, the cutest artwork you've ever seen, big, bold, bright colors, just super accessible. Just scores in different ways. Party just adds different card types, so you can swap them in and out within each game, just to throw in different scoring types, and then roll turns the cards into dice, and you're rolling dice and drafting those, and it works, and it's fun. It's much more tactile and works in like a 2-player setting much better.
What
But
was
for
this for you before?
41, so it's actually gone up 5
Fine.
places.
It's 54 for me now, and gone up from 69 again because I can play with more people. Just couldn't quite bring myself to put it in the 50.
Sure.
But I own it and I love it.
I bought it for at least 2 people in the last year.
Yeah.
The basic, the
It's
smallest
great.
as you go. It's just, you want to get into the games, you're interested, we've played a few things, here, try this, you'll like
Yeah.
it. And they do invariably.
Absolutely. Yeah, smashing game. Okay, where are we up to? 35. 35. There are 3 versions of this. I've still only played one of them, and it's Azul.
Okay.
First thing to say, stunner, gorgeous, beautiful. You are drafting tiles to make a mosaic. Again, not entirely sure of the theme, but there's not actually, I'm going, wow, I've got to play all the rest of the game. That's about it, isn't it?
That's it.
That's pretty much it. But it works, and it's pretty, and it's easy to teach people. And I think it won Spiel at one point, and hey, it's good. And the other version, Summer Pavilion with rhombus shapes, I'd like to try that. The other one with the like see-through glass, not so bothered about that because it's just the same thing, but see-through. But yeah, as all abstract strategy, don't love those, but very beautiful, very playable. 35.
Cool. My number 35 is the other, was brand new last year, dropped a bit,
yes,
and is a legitimate semi-crossover. This is Viscounts of the West Kingdom.
Oh, okay.
So same 10.
Same list. Yeah.
10.
Good.
Down from 23 to 35, but part of that is just the dilution that happens. Part of it is I've settled. And I've played it, I think last year I'd only played it solo.
Yes.
But I've played a 2, I've played a 3. And it works. It does exactly what I thought it did. It still gives me that feeling. That slow deck building is something that I just seem to quite like, actually.
Yeah.
And
will come up again on these lists.
It will, certainly will. The inner ring, outer ring puzzle, it's not such an easy teach as the other 2 West Kingdoms because there are many paths to victory. And you kind of need to know that pick one thing and then maybe a second and don't touch anything else and you'll be all right.
Yeah.
And so you play once and go, well, actually I only saw about a quarter of the game. I don't feel like I got a full thing out of it. So that's why it just keeps it down a little bit.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy it. The production's great. The Miko's art we've mentioned before. Love it so much. And just such a solid trilogy. Viscounts of the West Kingdom, 35.
Great. Well, 34, it's interesting. You should have mentioned earlier, we could have talked about it at the same time, but never mind. Yeah. I've kind of got a crossover as well.
Okay.
This is Imperial Settlers staying nowhere close to the north. This is the original.
Is this?
Yes, it is.
Ah.
And I know, and that was part of the reason that Imperial Settlers Empires of the North, which I thought I would love because they upgraded the art, because they changed some of the mechanics, because it's in the North, which I love. It's got factions that I care about much more than the originals. I didn't like it as much as the original. I couldn't believe it, and the reason for it, and it's kind of what you said, and this is why I said we'll come back to this, because you have 6 different decks, totally different decks, and you go, I learn this every time. I don't know how this works. As opposed to Imperial Settlers, where there's only 4 races, but there's also a joint deck that you use every time, and you either build a basic building or a specialized building, and sometimes you have to tear down a basic building to build the specialized buildings. And I needed, I think, that sort of universality, the central part that everyone gets, and then I've got my special thing, rather than, and this will fly in the face of some other stuff that I'll say later, I've got a totally different rule set to you, because I do like that sometimes, but I didn't like it so much in this. Whereas Imperial Settlers, I just really enjoy, and it's a tableau builder, and it's not in my collection anymore because there are other tableau builders that I like a bit more, and I didn't need it as well. But great little game, Imperial Settlers 34.
So my 34, is one that's on my list of, I'd actually quite like to own it again. 2-player only game by the Doctor himself, Rainer Knizia. This is Lost Cities.
Oh, you don't own this anymore.
I don't.
Oh,
I don't.
what an error.
Not for a while, long time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But it's just good.
Mm.
It's just good. It's a similar mechanism to Fantasy Realms, in that you play a card and pick up a card.
Yeah, sure. Yes.
But I think it's the other way round. Yes, in Fantasy Realms, you get to pick up and then choose what to discard.
Yes.
In Lost Cities, that would be cheating, because the sheer frustration of, I want that card that's right there, but I'm not allowed it until I've put something down, but it's only useful to put down before the thing that I want to put down, because I don't want to put down the other thing, because that'll screw up everything else. And beautiful tension. There are 5 different color expeditions. It's an abstract game that you're going on, and as soon as you put a card down, that expedition is going to cost you 20 points. And once you've played a card, you can only go higher and higher and higher with the value card. But there's only one of each color and each number in the whole deck that both of you are fighting over. And so there's this little tug of war battling, trying to figure out which one's your opponent's going to go after, which one you're going after. Am I going to get positive points? Then there are these wager cards that if you put down before any other card, can double, triple, quadruple, depending on how many you play, the outcome, both positive and negative. So you're really kind of chancing around, pushing your luck. You play 3 rounds to kind of balance out any luck that might happen. Just very well put together, very well designed. The new version looks a little bit better than the one that I had, but not drastically. Whatever you can find, it's just good. It's just solid. It's really good, and I miss it. There are a few games that I'm like, I'd love to play that, but I don't have access to it. There's just a few. This is one of the really good ones. Lost Cities 34.
Okay, my number 33 has dropped 12 places, and previous to that, it probably dropped about 12 places as well. You're going to be really sad. Some of the reason is we played a lot of it, a lot of it. And some of the reason is actually because in the last year, there's a number of games that are historical that are no longer in the top 100. I wouldn't even count them or play them anymore, because some of the historical themes in the last year that we've had, as we've reflected on, some of our history, we go, actually, I'm not sure that's something I want to celebrate in playing a board game. And so Small World has the shade of colonialism on it. In the beginning, there is a tribe of people who just sort of, they're on their way out, and we actually sold the game because of that issue. They were like, I'm not totally sure that we want to be promoting that kind of thinking. That was really personal, really minor and whatever, because it's a great fun game of fantasy races fighting each other. And believe me, when I say that coming out of my mouth, it sounds like everything I hate in the world. But it's ridiculously good fun, and it's really easy to teach, and it is asymmetric without working too hard. And basically, you draft at the beginning a power and a race. So you might have the bivouacking leprechauns, which means the leprechauns, they go out and they stick gold everywhere, and if that gold hasn't been pinched, they're always after me, Lucky Charms, then you're okay. But you might then put a tent over it, which is a bivouac, to say you can't come and attack me so much. And I don't have to spend a lot of time talking about this, because I'm fairly confident it will turn up on your list in a slightly higher position. I love this game, and I've played it so much, and I'm slightly sad it's not in our collection anymore. But it was just an ethical thing on the end, and we just, it's just this shade of it that we just don't need when we've got so many other wonderful games. Oh, it's hard to say. 33, Small World.
33 for me is
yes,
one of the bizarrest action selection games I've played, thematically and visually. This is a game called Imaginarium. Now, while your 33 went down 12 places, this has come up 12 places. Because I played it a couple of times with a couple of new people, and just was like, this is just great. The production is surprisingly good. I think it's Bombix who do typically nice productions, same as
Yeah.
Takanoko and things. It's I forget if it's Katala or Fiduti, one of the Brunos that just Katala that just do slightly interesting things. They take stuff that exists, stuff that's good, and just go, but what about this? And so it's a typical engine builder. You're drafting, well, you're buying cards in an action selection drafting type row thing, but they're these weird chicken house machines, or an elephant with cogs, or just these bizarre looking things, and they come in broken, and then you have to fix them and make them run to produce the resources to get other things, to get better things. Typical engine building stuff. But then the second action selection board has the 8 actions around in a clock, and you have 2 arms, and you have to pick 2 adjacent ones per round, but they're never complementary. The one that helps you build it is here. The one that makes you benefit from that is over here. So actually, you have to spend a round doing this. Nice. So what's my second one going to be?
Okay.
And I can cross over 1 next round, but not the same 2. So it's how do I manipulate this? But then you can hire assistants who are like orangutans with false teeth and monocles, bizarre looking thing. And they allow you to have an extra machine, or to get them for cheaper, or to ignore the arms is my favorite, but they're more expensive. And it's like a hidden race to 20 points. It's just all very weird, but just fun, satisfying to play. It's just really weird. I want to show you this. I picked it up insanely cheap. So it always endears itself to me if I can pick it up cheap and it's actually good. Just works for me. Imaginarium, bizarre thing.
My number 32 is QE, which is by Board Game Tables, who I mentioned last time when I talked about On Tour. And again, this is their other, it's not a roll and write, but it's a dry white marker game. And they're almost the opposite of each other. And I didn't go into it last time, so I'm going to tell you a little bit more this time. On Tour, you roll 2 dice and you write 2 numbers. Easy. Okay? And yet at the end of it, you go, oh, I was crunching. I got it all wrong, and I should have done better. QE almost is the opposite thing. You hand someone their board, and by the way, this is a game called Quantitative Easing, and it's all about the 2008 credit crunch, and you're bailing out big FTSE 100 companies and in international politics. Sounds horribly dull. And so you give the people this sort of, tick sheet. Oh my goodness, what is this? This is terrible. And it's really, really easy. It's really easy and really silly and really fun, because basically you are bidding on these companies, and you want different ones because you might be the US and you want a US company, or you have a special interest in agriculture or whatever. You've got some asymmetry going on there. But you can bid whatever you like, because there is no currency, paper, cardboard, or metal. There's no money. You just have a pen and paper. So you are writing not blank checks, but massive checks, like £10 million, and everyone bids. But they bid blind. It goes around in a circle. Whoever gets to start the auction has to do it publicly. Oh, it's 50 quid. And everyone else goes, oh, well, I really want that. I'll bid in 250 quid. And you put it in, and you lose the auction. You're like, how did I lose the auction? And someone else has then put in £300 million, and they still lost the auction. How did I lose the auction? Someone has spent a silly amount of money for that thing. Here's the kicker. At the end of the game, if you're the person who spent the most money, you lose, because that's a bad thing to do, people. You have to stay solvent. We played this with our parents, me and Cheryl, and I think Mum won, and she cites it as her favorite game of that weekend. She really enjoyed it. She's like, "Oh, I wonder if I could get Richard and Alison and their friends to play." I was like, "No, you can't find it anyway. It's pretty out of print anyway." Dad hated it because he was like, "I bid realistically though." Like, this is not a game of realism. You're writing blank checks. It's just nonsense. So he did very badly. In the end, he had to spend way more money, and he went in too late. And I think he went bust. He was very upset about the whole thing. It's like, this is not how it's working in real life. But, silly fun, lots of fun. QE 32.
I do wish to play this. My 32 is the one in the top 50 that is the same number as last year. 32, Carcassonne the City. My favorite Carcassonne.
Yeah.
I haven't grouped them all together for Carcassonnes just because I don't particularly care about any other Carcassonne.
No.
For some reason, this one I love. Just aesthetically, you get to the end of the game. It's competitive, but you're all placing tiles into this collected area. You're building a map together, essentially. But with the city, there are rounds, and from the second round onwards, when scoring's triggered by completing a road or whatever it might be, you take it in turns to place a piece of wall, and so you're actually stopping the growth of the city, and you're walling it off, and then you build turrets to score extra points. And so that when you've finished, the visual impact of what you've done is one of the most charming things. I know you mentioned it with Tapestry last time, like visually, that there's the big buildings, and there's just something about we've built this that I don't know whether it's because it's more classically designed than something like Tapestry, where it's like the old Brillo, the railroad stuff that you used to get.
Yes. Brio.
Just that Brio, sorry, that's not a Brillo pad. Brio, just the light tan wood color. It's just, it's nostalgic, it's charming, and it's a good game. It's good mechanisms. It's nice and inviting, and it works. Carcassonne's very popular for a reason. But this one just literally has parapets, and so it sits above them for me. Unmoved at 32, Carcassonne the City.
Yeah, I'd like to try it. Carcassonne, just had a look, is 128 for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd like to see if I could actually like Carcassonne a lot more than I do. All right, 31 then. My final one of this round is down 11 places. One of the biggest selling games of last year, slightly bizarrely, because I thought it would go out of print last year, Pandemic. And Pandemic Iberia. I've grouped them together. I have also played Pandemic Fall of Rome. That's further down for me. Didn't care for it just as much. It's not Pandemic the Cure. That's way down the list. It's not the Legacies. Pandemic and Pandemic Iberia. Because they're basically the same, just Pandemic Iberia is slightly more gamery, and that's the one I don't have anymore, because Pandemic is kind of more the entry point, and that's the main selling point. Everybody gets it, and everyone particularly gets it now. It's a cooperative game. Everyone can play. I mean, if they're not, a child, and that's why I would go for the Forbiddens that I said last time.
Yeah.
If you're an adult, you can play this game, and you will understand the theme of it, and it's well put together, and it's a small box comparatively.
Yeah.
It's great, and Matt Leacock deserves all the plaudits he gets. If you haven't tried Pandemic, you really should. It's but at this point, it's kind of the granddaddy of all co-ops, really, isn't it? And it's got some problems, and it can get overplayed and whatever, but it's pretty flawless design-wise. It just works. It's just really good. Well done, Matt. Number 31, Pandemic/Pandemic Iberia.
My 31 has a slash, or more brackets, maybe parentheses.
Sure.
My 31 is Star Realms, and I know you don't have it nearly so high.
But you got the fancy version, didn't you?
I now have Star Realms Frontiers, which is basically a replacement. I still have the old one just because
94 for me.
Okay. It's just incredibly simple, and that's to its detriment for a lot of people. And so Frontiers just adds a couple of extra things. It's got a couple of different modes. It allows me to play on my own. It just adds a bit more variety. It's all new cards. It's the same idea, same factions, but it's just a deck building game. And if you get cards of the same faction, same color, they work together and give you extra stuff, and you're just accruing money or attack to kill your opponent, to reduce them from 50 to nothing before they do to you. And so it's just a simple back and forth, a central row that you're both buying cards from that get filled, and it's just really simple. And the base game is like a double pack of cards. It's a nice small compact thing. Frontiers then is only double the size of that again, so it's still a small compact product that you can take anywhere, and just has more life for me than I know that it does for most people. I get why it drops off. I get why it gets stale. I get why it's a bit abstract for some and overly simplistic. It just works for me. It just does. And again, you can play it online and just play random people and just have a good time and move on and do something else. And I like card game duels. I just do. And this is a good one for me. And I like deck builders, and this is a good one for me. Star Realms for me, Star Realms Frontiers 31. That's 40 to 30. Another 10 smashed out at record speed for us.
Yeah. I think it's because we don't feel like we have to explain every game because we did it a year ago.
True.
But
True.
there you go.
But yeah, so we hope you join us for the next one, which will be 30 to 21, getting ever closer to the top. We're reaching the halfway point very soon. So do subscribe to the channel if you don't already, and hit the bell icon so you stay updated when new stuff comes out, like the next one of these. You do not want to miss it. In between, you can find me on social media. Just search Win Some Lose More. You will find me there. It'd be great to hear from you. Stick your favorites down in the comments. I don't know why I didn't say this last time. We want to know what you like, what you don't, have you played 100 games? Have you played 20? What are games you love? That's always what this is about, just sharing the thing we love to do with people. That's why we're here. So we hope you join us next time. I've been Dieter, he's been Rick, and you've been watching Win Some Lose More. See you again. Bye.